So, this is James. He's alright for a conservative.
And this is Andre. He's fairly tolerable for a liberal, at least.
James and I have a lot of disagreements.
That's putting it lightly. I mean, this guy actually supports single-payer healthcare.
I think it's a reasonable policy, sort of like gun control, which I know is a sore subject for you.
I mean, we've been through this. I empathize with you there, but honestly, I think we should be able to own tanks if we want to.
Disagree. I also believe, and don't know why we can't pass this low of a bar in the 21st century, that Black Lives Matter, and that our nation, as great as it is, has systemic racial issues that need to be addressed.
Okay, so I also believe Black Lives Matter, but because I believe we're all created in God's image and thus have intrinsic value, I just can't get behind the current movement or organization. But I did vote for Hillary.
Really? Well, that's refreshing common ground. I mean, the obvious choice over Trump, am I right?
Oh, I meant I voted for her in the 2008 primary back when I was a Democrat. Yeah, I voted for Trump in 2016. I was just so tired of all our wars.
And we're back. You know, you never told me why you voted for Trump before.
Well, you never asked.
Touche. How about we start this over again?
Couldn't agree more. Let's do it.
Hey everyone, this is James. And the more I get to know him, the more I begin to understand where he's coming from. The more I start to like him.
And this is Andre. I've had a fantastic time working with him this past year to develop our show, Blocked.
James is so much more than just a conservative. He's an entrepreneur, an award-winning television producer, a writer, father, and a husband.
And Andre is so much more than just a liberal. He's also an award-winning slam poet, an entrepreneur, a writer, and a newlywed husband.
We put together our Block show because we both kind of drawn the same conclusion when it comes to our society's future.
Self-segregation is a very poor long-term strategy for us.
Now be honest, have you ever blocked someone on social media due to ideological differences before? I definitely have. And it kind of low-key felt good, didn't it? Cutting that opposition out of your life, that challenge to your worldview.
It used to be that the government forced people to segregate from one another. Then, much of our culture decided that wasn't the best way forward, so we actively went out of our way to integrate. But with the advent of new technology and social media, we've begun to voluntarily cut ourselves off from people who think, act, look, or believe differently than ourselves.
Here's a concerning statistic. According to Pew Research, more than half of Republicans and Democrats say they have only a few friends who vote for the other party. That includes at least 14% of Republicans and at least 21% of Democrats who say they have no friends who vote for the other party.
Essentially, there are millions of Americans out there who have self-segregated themselves, unintentionally or voluntarily, from those that don't think like them. They never have those difficult, honest, sometimes fun and enlightening conversations like the one Andre and I just had.
Maybe you've noticed, we're very polarized.
Both sides have now reached the point where they're so frustrated and so fed up.
I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are.
And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
You're out of your cotton-picking mind.
Cotton-picking mind? Brother, let me tell you something.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
The problem is, if we aren't in community with people that don't think, act, or believe the way that we do, we begin to form prejudices. Prejudices like the one I used to have against all Republicans, right up until I married into a family of Republicans.
Or perhaps, like me, you were hurt by someone, and in your anger and sadness, you lost your reason and became prejudiced not just against that individual, but all those who shared a trait with that person. You broad-brushed an entire group unjustly.
Now, we all self-segregate to some degree. I mean, we all form prejudices. The question is, are we fighting against these practices? Are we actively pursuing relationships with people who aren't like us, maybe in any way?
Put differently, has our society given up on tolerance? If we want to practice tolerance, we must be in community with people that disagree with us. Otherwise, we have no object of our tolerance, no disagreement, just echo chambers and sheltered comfort.
We believe that without the friction of diverse thought, there is no innovation or creativity. Not in our friend groups, not in our classrooms, not in our businesses.
With Block Talk, we not only illustrate the dangers and potential pitfalls of self-segregation, we model live what it can look like to disagree with someone ideologically and still respect their humanity.
Our goal was to create a show that's not only entertaining, I mean, James and I both have a theater background, which does make me wonder where James went wrong. But we also wanted to kind of model our show around just having a conversation with someone who has a different background or a different ideology than you do.
Blocked is informative, moving, and we believe necessary for helping any kind of ideologically diverse community lean into understanding the people around them. You know, Andre, I think we could go on about this for, say, 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
I don't disagree with you. We spent months researching, we queried studies, we were honest with our own stories of self-segregation. We weaved in these humorous moments, and we made sure to include interactive activities so that our audience can leave with these key takeaways as well. I'm a little biased, but I believe that we have a great show that can genuinely change our culture.
Finally, something we can agree on.